Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Monday, September 5th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It's proven to be another busy day for CAL FIRE in East County, now trying to contain a brush fire near Ramona. They're calling this the Caesar Fire near State Route 78 and Ramona Trails Drive. Oliver Pierce Middle School is being used as an evacuation center for people in the area. Ramona Rodeo Grounds is accepting animals right now. CAL FIRE says it's halted forward spread at about 50 acres. There is no word on damage to any structures. And this is one of several fires burning all over California in recent days, and we'll have an update on progress a bit later. The Labor Day holiday was already going to be a busy one at local beaches. Add in this heat, and you get even more people heading to the water to find relief. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado on the crowds and the concern over safety.
San Diegans hit the beach for the unofficial last day of summer to try and cool off from the extreme heat wave that continues to bake Southern California. Celebrating the Labor Day holiday on Mission Beach is just about the only place in San Diego County that feels bearable. But some can handle the heat a lot better than others.
And I do party rentals and stuff, so we've been working in the heat, sweating like you wouldn't believe. But it's all right. It'll be over in another week or so. And Betty, she loves the heat. Yeah, she loves the heat.
We were sitting outside, and it was still kind of cool, and the wind was blowing, and then you kind of started to feel the heat, and she's like, oh, let's go to the beach.
Let's go to the beach. And what does it feel like from there to here?
The heat is still the
same. No, it's a 20-degree difference.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's cooler here. There, it's really hot.
Yeah.
Others make the yearly pilgrimage to California from even hotter places to escape their heat, like this family from Arizona. They got a whole lot of the same while visiting Disneyland, so a day at Mission Beach did bring a lot of relief.
Yesterday in Anaheim, it hit 108 in the morning, which was about as hot as it is in Phoenix right now. So I told my wife, it feels like Phoenix out here today. And so that was not what we were expecting coming to California, but glad it's a little cooler today, and being on the beach here feels a little bit nicer.
Marine Safety Lieutenant Rick Stell with the San Diego Lifeguard Service says this heat wave coinciding with the holiday weekend is keeping the beaches packed and the lifeguards busy.
Well, Labor Day weekend for lifeguards has been extremely busy due to the heat and the warm water conditions. We've seen extreme crowds, more almost like 4th of July weekend. We've had a large amount of rescues, medical aids. It's just because the traffic here is increased as well.
The excessive heat warning has been extended through most of the week. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
And many who attended this weekend's debut of Snapdragon Stadium will remember it less for the football and more for the extreme heat. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer caught up with some of the fans who were forced out of their seats and into the shade.
The San Diego Fire Department says it dispatched multiple units to Snapdragon Stadium on Saturday to treat people suffering from heat-related illnesses. Over 34,000 people attended the first game at San Diego State's new home field as the heat wave continues to impact the Southwest.
This stadium is like an open-faced sandwich. Literally every square inch of that stadium is exposed to direct sunlight. And with the heat, the UV index that we've had this summer, it's just not good.
Season ticket holder Chris Galoyu was at the game with his wife. He filmed some of what he saw before and during the game.
So we didn't tailgate as long just because we knew it'd be hot. But right off the bat, I mean, an ambulance showed up and took away actually one of our tailgating neighbors who I think he suffered like a mild heat stroke.
SDSU fan Joel Anderson is also a season ticket holder and was at the game with his family. He was happy with the overall experience, even though the Aztecs lost 20-38 to the Arizona Wildcats. Anderson says he prepared for the heat and stayed for all 4 quarters, but his wife and kids left early.
And it is a brand new stadium, so they're still working out kinks, and it's going to take them a season to work things out. I could see them for sure, like providing more canopies and tables and things like that on a day game that can easily put up and put away. And I've seen that suggestion, and I'm sure that's something that during a hot day game in the future they probably are going to do.
KPBS reached out to the San Diego Fire Department for comment, and they said they'll provide data on the total number of patients and illnesses tomorrow. After seeing the way heat can affect football fans firsthand, Galoyu hopes there are some long-term solutions at the stadium. He and his wife spent much of the game trying to find shade until they left just a few minutes into the third quarter.
They definitely need to address this for the other sporting events and other events and venues that they have throughout the year, because like I said, we have any soccer games, lacrosse games, or anything else that comes to San Diego and wants to use that facility. It's going to be brutal if they're doing anything during the daytime in those later summer months.
KPBS reached out to SDSU, but they did not respond in time for comment. The Aztecs play their next home game this Saturday at 5 p.m. against Idaho State. They don't have any more daytime games currently scheduled for the rest of the season. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
And crews are getting close to containing the Border 32 fire in southeast San Diego County. It's been quite the battle the past 5 days with high heat and rugged terrain in the Barrett Junction area. 10 structures were destroyed. 3 of those were homes, and 6 people were injured. The fire near Del Zura and Potrero is now 95% contained and has charred about 4,600 acres. More than 100 animals had to be rescued as well, and the cause is still under investigation. And in Northern California, 2 people have died in the Mill Fire in Siskiyou County. It's now close to 4,300 acres and 40% contained, but crews are making some good progress in working to lift evacuation orders. A second fire is burning in that county. It's the Mountain Fire and has burned more than 10,000 acres and only 10% contained. And for the 6th straight day, we are under a flex alert, this time until 10 p.m. tonight. State power officials are urging people to conserve electricity to avoid blackouts. More now from science and technology reporter Thomas Fudge.
A heat wave has brought record-setting temperatures to the state, with triple digits hammering inland areas. Elliot Mainzer is president of Cal ISO, which operates California's energy grid. He says Californians have done well. Conservation, he said, has caused the demand for energy to be about 2% lower than forecast over the past 2 evenings.
But we have now entered the most intense phase of this heat wave. Forecasted demand for Monday and Tuesday is at all-time record levels, and the potential for rotating outages has increased significantly.
The message state officials have repeated continually is we must reduce energy use during the peak hours of 4 to 9 p.m. Don't use large appliances during peak hours, and pre-cool your home during the day so you can turn down or turn off AC during peak hours. If people don't reduce their use to a sufficient level, the next stop is rolling blackouts.
If we get to that point where all of these other tools that we have described are the energy, the demand response, the emergency response, our operating reserves, if those are exhausted, at that point we would be conveying to the utilities that it would be time to drop load.
Then it would be up to utilities, SDG&E and San Diego, to devise a plan for rolling blackouts with the direction to keep them as short as possible. Southern California has had an excessive heat warning in place since last Tuesday. National Weather Service meteorologist Elizabeth Schenk says don't expect that to change anytime before Saturday.
High temperatures on Tuesday are generally going to range in the middle 90s to the low 100s for the valleys. So there's going to be a very high heat risk there on Tuesday. Wednesday is even going to be a little bit warmer for the valleys.
San Diego's coastal regions have not been spared the humid heat. Schenk says Oceanside Harbor set a high temperature record of 95 degrees on Sunday. What's more, it's not cooling down at night.
San Diego, the airport, actually tied their all-time high minimum temperature record. So that means that the temperature did not fall below 78 degrees at all during the day yesterday.
Relief is expected this weekend. A surge of tropical moisture will arrive in Southern California late this week, bringing with it a chance of heavy rain and lower temperatures. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Our dangerous heat wave continues right through the middle part of the week. When is cooling going to come? Perhaps by next weekend, when a tropical system will approach from the south. But until then, hot days and warm nights. Try and stay out of the sun, get in the air conditioning, hydrate, always check on the elderly, and never ever leave children or pets unattended in your vehicle. Excessive heat warnings now in effect through Wednesday evening. Taking a look at our dangerous heat wave, do be prepared for records challenged, high energy demands, also the risk for heat-related illnesses. That's why we tell you to hydrate and get out of the sun. Overnight tonight stays warm and humid. Our low 72 degrees. Temperatures 69 Oceanside and Ramona, Borrego Springs at 81. San Diego County temperatures for tomorrow, very warm at the coast. We're in the mid-80s. We're in the century mark here in the interior valleys, and it's hot over towards Borrego Springs and Campo. End of the week, we're watching a developing tropical system off the west coast of Mexico. That will head up towards the Baja weekend. It'll get more humid, and there could be some storms. Really too early to say how much rain we'll get out of this. Hopefully we'll get some. And it does look like, though, there will be some cooling with all that moisture coming up through the atmosphere. So that's not until Friday and Saturday. Until then, we're hot. Temperatures staying well into the 80s, mid to upper 80s to near 90 degrees next couple of days. And then the end of the week, it gets humid, more clouds, and we'll see the chance for a shower thunderstorm that's starting to pop up Friday and Saturday. Inland sections, very hot, upper 90s to near 100 degrees. As we take you up into the mountains, it's warm here, but notice we do see some wind and a chance for some storms by the weekend. And we'll see those changes coming into the deserts, too. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Biancuso.
Labor Day 2022 was a good one for California fast food workers. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a new law establishing a fast food council that allows workers to negotiate wage and working conditions on an industry-wide basis. KPBS reporter Gustavo Solis spoke with the law's author and people who will feel the most impact.
Karina Zuniga joined the labor movement a few years ago because her manager at a KFC in National City wouldn't give her a 10-minute break. California law requires employers to give their hourly workers one 10-minute break for every 4 hours of work. But Zuniga is an immigrant, and this is her first job in the U.S. She says she had no idea about the break requirement. She also says there were unsafe working conditions at the KFC kitchen.
Pues haz de cuenta que yo no sabía, soy nueva aquí en Estados Unidos, mi primer trabajo.
Morning, welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order, please?
The new law is designed to give workers like Zuniga a louder voice on issues ranging from wage theft to workplace safety. It establishes a statewide council where workers, employers, and government officials will come to the table and negotiate industry standards. Newsom said that the bill will empower California fast food workers.
A bill that empowers our workers, particularly in that sector, giving them more voice, giving them more choice.
The governor also mentioned the significance of signing the bill during the holiday.
I'm proud on Labor Day to sign that bill and to enshrine it in law.
Critics of the bill say that it will make fast food more expensive for consumers. But during lunch on Labor Day, San Diegans visiting fast food restaurants supported the idea of paying workers more money, even if it means the price of a cheeseburger may go up. Andrea Vargas is from National City.
I don't think it would hurt much because, like I said, fast food isn't a necessity, so they would be better off buying actual groceries.
Carlos Alfaro is from Chula Vista. His sister works at a Chipotle.
It's a tough industry where, the pay is kind of low, so yes, they do deserve, at least a couple bucks more than the minimum wage or whatever they're paid there. And yes, I think wages should be increased for fast food workers.
Lorena Gonzalez introduced the bill in January 2021 when she was still in the state assembly. Now she's a leader of the California Labor Federation and sees this as a model that could be applied to other industries as well.
I think that's really exciting. It's a whole new level of bargaining. It's a different level of coming up with regulations, and I think it's something that could take off for not just fast food workers, but other industries as well.
Zuniga says that this could lead to higher wages and more job stability.
Se siente bonito, se siente tener ese poder.
She says the new law is beautiful because it recognizes her value as a worker and as a human being. It will take effect on January 1st, 2023.
First window, please. Thank you.
Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
In politics, Labor Day is often seen as the unofficial start of the campaign season. With the midterms 2 months away, KPBS will be ramping up our election coverage. Part of that includes the KPBS Voter Hub. It has information on important dates and KPBS stories on the candidates and the issues. We also have a version for our Spanish-speaking audience. And right now, we're accepting your election questions to help us guide our coverage in the weeks ahead. You can get to our Voter Hub from our homepage or by going to kpbs.org/elections. It remains to be seen how the reversal of Roe versus Wade and the issue of abortion will motivate voters in November. One thing for certain is Californians will be asked whether to do more to protect abortion access. Cal Matters' Alexei Kosef gives us a detailed look at Proposition 1.
The landscape of abortion access is rapidly shifting across the United States. Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in June, ending a nearly 50-year-old constitutional right to abortion, Republican-led states have rushed to restrict the procedure or ban it altogether. California is moving even further in the opposite direction.
This November, we'll be advancing a constitutional amendment.
Democratic leaders want to make the state a sanctuary for abortion, welcoming patients from across the country who no longer can terminate their pregnancies at home. And now, California voters have a chance to enshrine reproductive rights in the state constitution.
Hi, I'm Alexei Kosef, State Capitol reporter for Cal Matters, and this is Proposition 1 in a minute.
Abortion access isn't going away in California anytime soon. The procedure has been legal here since 1967. Currently, you can get an abortion for any reason before a fetus is viable at about 24 weeks of pregnancy. California's constitution even includes a right to privacy that state courts have interpreted as protecting abortion. But with the end of Roe, Democratic leaders want greater assurances that abortion access won't be threatened by shifting political tides. They placed a state constitutional amendment before voters declaring that people have a right to choose to have an abortion and a right to choose or refuse contraceptives. Critics say the amendment would not offer any new protections and that it's merely a ploy to turn out liberal voters. But supporters argue an explicit guarantee of reproductive freedom is important in case legal interpretations of California's constitutional right to privacy change. Anti-abortion advocates also say the language is so broad that it would legalize late-term abortions beyond the 24-week point of viability. Proponents deny that. So vote yes if you want California to add a fundamental right to choose an abortion in the state constitution. Vote no if you don't.
For more information on this proposition and others, visit calmatters.org.
I'm William Brangham. On the next News Hour, a judge orders a special master to review documents taken from Mar-a-Lago. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
It's loud, it's dangerous, and leaves some ugly marks on communities. Street takeovers glamorized on social media are popping up all over the country. Stephanie Elam reports on a growing crime trend and why police are having a hard time stopping it.
From around the globe,
in the Fast and Furious world, Bob's Market is an icon.
Fast and Furious fans come to this Los Angeles neighborhood to take pictures in front of this shop made famous by the movie franchise.
We are here in LA, so I want to see the market and also the house from Fast and Furious.
It's nice. I mean, this is really great.
But the movies, known for their fast cars and daring stunts, have left their mark on this neighborhood in another way. The scars of street racing and donuts mark the intersection where so-called takeovers, similar to these, have invaded the neighborhood.
They're coming around drifting, doing donuts, spinning around like crazy with their mufflers sounding like explosions.
For the people who live here,
the smoke that it leaves behind from the tires burning, it lingers. It doesn't go away.
It's more than a nuisance.
You hear these like screeches, and it happens until the cops come.
It's dangerous and illegal. Takeovers like these happening at all hours of the day.
You're putting our lives at risk. You're putting our neighborhood at risk. They don't stop at the stop signs anymore.
Across the country, drivers are taking over streets, racing, doing donuts, and burnouts. Just in the last week, an entire block was damaged by out-of-control cars in Des Moines. Police in Salt Lake City arrested 6 people for illegally racing. Another blocked police from getting to a shooting in Portland, Oregon. Chandler, Arizona police say an illegal drag race left one driver dead. Near Chicago, a pedestrian was struck and killed. A city alderman saying higher fines and impounding vehicles has little effect.
And we see these incidents not stopping. They haven't stopped. If anything, they're getting worse and worse.
Rumble strips in Compton, California did little to slow down the takeovers. Fed up residents in L.A. taking to the streets in protest.
That's Larry and that's Larry.
Anna Marie Piersimoni is one of them. She lost Larry Brooks, her husband of more than 30 years, when he went out for some exercise and never came home.
The driver revved his car to 90, spun out, lost control. He hit my husband and 6 other cars. My husband had 10 minutes to live after that. It's called vehicular manslaughter, but it was murder.
She and others are calling for a disclaimer to be added to the Fast and Furious films, convinced they've glamorized street racing. Universal Pictures did not return a request for comment.
I feel furious. Yes, there's another meaning to that word in the movie, Fast and Furious.
You can go to jail, you can kill someone, you can injure yourself.
Lily Trujillo Puckett started the nonprofit Street Racing Kills after her 16-year-old daughter Valentina was killed in 2013. Now Puckett mentors street racers who've been punished by the courts.
When your whole dreams and your life is going away for 40 years, and you're going to have the other party telling you this is what you took away from us.
Her message not heard nearly enough, she says. Lost in a haze of burning rubber and roaring engines. Stephanie Elam, Los Angeles.
The OB Playhouse is busy putting its spin on a work by composer Stephen Sondheim. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando recently visited a rehearsal for Assassins and says it's a work that challenges the musical format.
Imagine, if you will, all of the stories of the assassination attempts, apart from one on U.S. presidents, whether successful or not, from the assassin's perspective.
When Stephen Sondheim wrote Assassins in 1990, he expected a backlash. Political assassinations are not typical fare for musicals. But at the time, Sondheim told the New York Times, "We're not going to apologize for dealing with such a volatile subject." Amanda Blair is not apologizing either. She's currently in rehearsals for Sondheim's Assassins at OB Playhouse.
I'm always interested in pushing the envelope as a director, and I'm interested in stories that mean something to people. A big underlying theme in this show is the American dream, and it's interesting to see different perspectives and different takes on what the American dream means to these characters, because it's not always the same. Everybody's got the right to be different. So those kinds of stories that challenge what we think the norm is are really what attracts me to wanting to display them for the world.
For Michael Harrison, who plays John Wilkes Booth, it challenged what he was taught in school.
I was actually in high school American history class when the show premiered, and remember having a conversation with my high school history teacher about, hey, did you know this? We're studying this. Can we listen to this song in class? Even then, I kind of could tell that like there was something to be learned from music and from the perspective and the emotional weight that music in a musical theater piece can have that just reading something on the page might not.
Caitlin Summers plays Sarah Jane Moore, who until a fateful day in 1975 was a suburban housewife.
And then one day decided that she wanted to kill, or attempt to kill, President Gerald Ford, which I think is kind of a big through line of this piece. Is it's not always the people that you suspect, and I think that's something that we talk about a lot, especially with gun violence.
That's why Blair is trying to make the experience of watching Assassins an immersive one.
And I have actors moving throughout the house. Some of them will be sitting in the house. They're making entrances and exits from all over the space. The idea being that if we're thinking about assassins in history and U.S. history, they came from sitting right next to you.
They were normal people up to a point. It's your neighbor. It's the mom who lives down the street who picks her kid up from Little League. And having that proximity to the audience gives that feeling of, oh, I forgot this person was sitting next to me.
We have those opportunities for the person doing the bad thing to be right next to you. That kind of little bit of on your edge, and it makes the audience a little bit uncomfortable, but I think in a good way.
Blair's not asking audiences to condone these acts of violence.
I truly hope that they walk away from the show with more of an understanding, not necessarily an acceptance, but an understanding for other people's viewpoints. I think that's a big problem that we've got in society today, where we can have, polarizing topics, and this person does not want to listen to what this person has to say. You don't have to agree with what the person has to say, but I think it's important to understand where they're coming from.
And that theme of listening to what people, even assassins, have to say comes up repeatedly.
Listening is a big theme. I think that they turn to these acts of violence, hoping that they will be heard and taken seriously, but it almost has the opposite effect.
Wild Song Productions opens Assassins on September 16th at the Obie Playhouse. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And here's another look at today's top story. A small brush fire contained tonight near Ramona. They're calling this the Caesar Fire near State Route 78 and Ramona Trails Drive. Oliver Pierce Middle School is being used as an evacuation center for people in the area. Ramona Rodeo Grounds is accepting animals, but the worst appears to be over. CAL FIRE says it halted forward spread at about 50 acres. And there is no word on damage to any structures. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.